and then figure out how to make it happen. And it's not just technology. Technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's about institutions. It's about trust building. It's about negotiations. It's about guardrails, which Dario mentioned. It's about working with different stakeholders and making them go towards a common vision. So it's diffusion is difficult. It's not a simple task. So I feel that India will demonstrate this because we have the experience of diffusion at population scale in all the various areas. And obviously, diffusion of AI, there are some differences that we need to think about, data, guardrails, and so on. But I think we can build a pathway or multiple pathways to that goal. And that will show the world, because I believe right now in AI, there's a race to the top and a race to the bottom. And the race to the bottom is faster than the race to the top. So I think all of us who have a stake in AI being useful to humanity have to accelerate and redouble our efforts to make the diffusion happen. Otherwise, the consequences are going to be very, very difficult, because there's going to be a backlash. If the only thing that AI does is, create deep fakes or raise the price of your power bill, or all the other things that are happening, people are going to respond. I mean, the resentment of the blue collar worker led to the train wreck of globalization. The resentment of the white collar worker is going to lead to the train wreck of AI. So I think we really have to work very hard to show profound, useful cases of AI.
Dario, you were in India in October, and you're back again now. Uh, you spend a lot of time actually with the developer community. You clearly were impressed because you've come back so quickly. Could you tell us a little bit about, you know, what your experience is with how India is building and using AI? Perhaps just go through the stack. I mean, enterprise, small business, startups, then developers. What's what's different about the way India does it?
Yeah, so I would say there's just an excitement here and technical acumen, and we can even see it in the statistics of usage of Claude. Use of Claude for technical kind of programming and software engineering, mathematical tasks. The fraction is substantially higher here in India than it is in most other places in the world. And every time I go to speak at one of these, we'll host these builder or developer events in India. Just there's a lot of excitement. I can feel the brimming excitement of, like, what is something that we can build in just the last 4 months. The use of Claude and Claude Code has doubled in India. And I'm sure it's the same for the other. I don't say that to promote Claude and Claude Code. Like, it's more a statement about the kind of excitement in India on the enterprise level. I mean, the two of us just announced a partnership just yesterday. So, we're really excited to work with all the large enterprises in India. They know much more about the Indian market. They know much more about, distribution. They know how to serve enterprises within India. And, they're much better at that than we are. And can we plug our technology into what they do, and create something that kind of wins for both sides, right? We would like to be able to, jointly win with the companies in India. And then finally, I think there's another element that's almost unique, which is that there's an excitement to build, but there's an excitement to build for public good and for philanthropic benefits. So, Nandan kindly introduced me to the XStep Foundation, of course, builds digital infrastructure, and we've already started to work on a number of projects really to reach people in rural areas. We're trying to combine Claude with something called Open AgriNet, which helps farmers in rural regions to kind of find better information and better advice to be more effective and efficient. And we're looking to expand that a great deal. So I think that's something totally unique to India. And that, through folks in the private sector, we would get connected to these efforts, and there would be mutual enthusiasm to promote these efforts.
And you, of course, have an office. You've declared a managing director. But actually, more importantly, Sonnet 4.6, which dropped yesterday, very inconveniently, so I couldn't try it, apparently is doing very well on 10 Indic languages. So there seems to be a bit of a focus in your development as well on India. Can you tell me why that's important? Why language, cultural context is important, and what India can play, what role it can play in that?
Yeah, so language models have always been multilingual, but of course they're better at languages than that they've been trained more on. And of course, as I learned when I first came here, India has a very long tail of regional languages, and we see this as something related to access, something related to making we provide benefits for everyone, right? If you can only speak the most common languages, then there's a long tail we're not reaching, right? The farmers that we mentioned, many of them speak one of the less common regional languages, and so we put in place a push, collaborating with folks in India to acquire more data for this long tail of Indic languages, and Sonnet 4.6 represents an improvement. We're not all the way there yet. We want these models to be as good, even far out in the long tail of these languages as they are at speaking English. And we're making progress towards that. We're not there yet, but we want to keep going.
And then after you built DPI, I mean, I say after, like as if you stopped, you still continue to do it. But after you did the bulk of the work, you spend some time and effort actually taking it out to other countries. And I was wondering whether you've thought about that for AI. And
Sure.
as it's been mentioned so many times today that this is the first AI summit in the global South, and so I think perhaps countries of the global South, if there's a model, as it were, for doing this, would benefit from those ideas. So as you think about it, is it costs? Is it skill? Is it data? Infrastructure? What is it that countries need to think about for
No,
this?
sure. No, finally, it's about a lived experience. If you've done it, you can do it better next time. So, what we did in the DPI part, the digital public infrastructure, is that after several years of that experience, we worked with global philanthropists, set up something called Co-Develop, and said, let's take DPI global. And today, we have some version of DPI running in about 40 countries around the world. We recently had a summit in Cape Town where we had 1,200 delegates from 109 countries. So it's become a global movement, and we feel that if AI has to really be impactful, we need something similar. So yesterday we just launched something called 100 diffusion pathways by 2030. We like to have targets.
Can
So
you explain that?
yeah, so the idea is that a diffusion pathway is basically a way to reach a particular goal, which you got from learning, from doing things, and then packaging it. And it's not just technical packaging; it's about guardrails. It's about how do you get institutions on board, how do you make how do you make data available. There's a whole host of things, but think of it as a toolbox or a playbook for doing things. And then this is a global initiative, so we're going to work around the world and create multiple diffusion pathways, and then share them with each other so that we can accelerate this thing. And Anthropic is part of that. We have Google as part of that. Gates Foundation is there. UNDP is there. The Kenyans. It's a global coalition, because what we learned from the agriculture experience, we worked with Maharashtra on their agri stack, which is called Mahavistar, and that took us 9 months to figure out how to make it work safely at scale. Using the same learning, it was done in Ethiopia, which took 3 months because we had the learning of Maharashtra. And then using the same learning at the PM was very keen to see it in animal husbandry. So we worked with Amul, and we did that in 3 weeks. So you can see the trajectory of time, right? From 9 months to 3 months to 3 weeks. So what that shows is that if we can do this lived experience and keep improving and package that and take it to the world, we'll move the implementation of AI to the real world. And that, I think, is strategically important for the world of AI.
So 100 by 30 is the
Yeah,
new.
100 diffusion pathways by 2030. And
You
we welcome everyone to join this moment.
you have many such catchphrases, but the one that really stood out to me at some time ago was India needs AI and AI needs India. We've spoken a bit about the India needs AI, but why does AI need India?
Because this is where we're going to show it working. I think because of the history of India's digital journey, and thanks to the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, who is the biggest champion of all the work that's going on, we have a political leadership that's committed. We have technologists. We have enough people with the right value system to make this happen. And we have done this before. And therefore, India will be where you'll see most of the deployment of AI in a tangible way, where farmers are able to make more money, where children learn better, where healthcare is better, where people talk in their own language, so you have universal access. So this is where you're going to show this, and the world needs this to be shown, and the AI companies need this to be shown, because they have to show real stuff where this is working at scale for people. So I think, yeah, it's very important.
Dario, if I can ask you, if you were to rewrite Machines of Loving Grace, which is a beautiful 20,000 word or something essay uh, for India, if you were to think about, what is that utopic vision of what AI could be for India, what would it be? I mean, obviously not 20,000 words, but whatever few ideas you could have now.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what was there was universal, but there are some things that I would accentuate that are possible when you have such a large population for running, running this kind of large possibility of experiments, right? You have here a very large population for kind of studying and improving human health. There's world class medical research. So I think I would double down, especially on some of the sections about accelerating the cures for diseases. We just had Demis Hassabis, who has basically solved the protein folding problem with AI and kind of shown us all the way. And what we need are like 50 improvements like that. And the hope is working together between the AI developers and the folks who diffuse AI and do the actual medical research. Can all of us working together between the AI companies and folks in India really accelerate progress. I would also say accelerating the rate of economic development. There is so much technical potential and technical adeptness in India. Um, and it actually almost seems like a perfect case study for the idea that AI could really accelerate economic growth, because it seems like the the base ingredients are kind of all there, and AI could help to tie them together. So in the developed world, I've wondered, well, could AI lead us to 10% growth rates, which sounds absurd, but that the thing I imagined in the positive scenario of Machines of Loving Grace. But I think here in India, there's a lot of catch-up growth to be done. There's an enormous amount of technical potential and ability, and as I'm seeing, there's this eagerness to adopt AI. So India is one of the few places in the world where I wonder, could there be 20 or 25% growth, which is, sounds absurd, is unknown anywhere in the world. But as I think about this, it kind of stacks all the factors for a very bullish picture of how that growth could happen. So, I think I could imagine being in India being one of the countries in the world that most embodies this. Certainly, the large country that most embodies this.
And Nandan, with all of these things, there needs to be some unlock. So, if you were to advise governments of the world, governments of India, governments of the global south, what should they do to unlock this 20-25% growth that Dario dreams of
I don't know
for
about
India?
25 and all that. If I get 10, I'll be happy. But I think there are a number of things. Obviously, I think people before have talked about the need to create massive compute. We need to bring in the models. I think the focus has to be on inclusion. I think this AI has to carry everybody. Everybody must feel it. Everybody must benefit from it. And that's why I think the language is very important. We want people to be able to speak to the computer in their language, in their dialect, mixing English, Hindi, Tamil, whatever. That needs to be done. I think that's a big thing. And then I think making agents work for people. I think if we can make agents work for people, then it means more inclusion, because they can get complex things done because you're hiding all the sophistication behind the agent. So I think there are a lot of things we can do, which will you'll see now in the coming years. We already have 3 or 4 examples in agriculture, in healthcare, in language, in education, in electricity. We have a very good example of P2P trading. So I think all these are examples of how AI will actually benefit people. And then I think, as to Dario's point, India is a country which is very positive about technology in general and AI in particular. And we need to take advantage of that and not let them down by giving them truly transformative applications using AI, which you will see in the next 2 to 3 years.
Nandan, Dario, thank you so much. What a lovely conversation.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nandan Nilekani and Mr. Dario Amote. And thank you, Rahul Mathan, for moderating it. Well, it was quite an engaging conversation, I must say. And they are the pioneers and the thought leaders of artificial intelligence, and they shared their profound perspectives. I thank our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Mr. Rishad Premji. He's the executive chairman of Wipro, the son of one of India's most beloved business leaders. Rishad Premji has carved out his own identity as a thoughtful steward of Wipro's transformation into an artificial intelligence native technology services company. He's also an unusually candid voice on the responsibilities that business leaders carry in times of technological disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Executive Chairman of Wipro, Mr. Rishad Premji. A warm welcome once again. That's Mr. Rishad Premji.
Thank you for those of you who are here for being here. Um, w- Once in a generation, a technology emerges that doesn't just change what we can do, it truly changes what we must do. AI for me is certainly that technology. And how we as a country, how India responds in the next few years, will shape not just our own economic trajectory, but our ability to solve problems that matter to over a billion people. For the past several years, the conversation around AI has focused just not on the possibility. What can it do? How powerful could it become? How quickly could it evolve? But we are now at an inflection point. The conversation has fundamentally shifted from possibility to practicality, from experimentation to adoption, and from pilots to scaled impact. This shift matters, and it matters tremendously because technology creates value only when it is applied to solve real world problems responsibly and at scale. So, what does this moment mean for India? It means India has the opportunity to become one of the world's most consequential environments for the application of AI, not just as a builder of the technology, but as a place where AI is tested against real world complexity and made to work at scale. Our context as a country is demanding. Systems here must work across multiple languages, across urban and rural settings, and across populations with very different levels of access, need, data quality, and infrastructure. That raises the bar, but it also makes success meaningful. We already see what this looks like in practice. In education, AI can support learning outcomes in local languages and help address teachers' shortages across skill mismatches. In healthcare, it can enable earlier disease screening and strengthen rural care, especially where access is limited. And in public services, it can help build smarter, safer infrastructure and reduce leakages in welfare delivery. Which brings me to India's strengths and why I believe India is well placed today to take advantage of all of this. Let me just highlight a few that matter most and have been highlighted by many. One of the most significant is our experience with DPI. UPI today processes over 20 billion transactions every month and has transformed how individuals and businesses participate in the digital economy. It has demonstrated that technology can scale rapidly when it is accessible, reliable, and most importantly, inclusive. India also has one of the largest and fastest growing pools of AI talent in the world. We are truly the AI and talent destination of the world. Approximately 650,000 professionals in India work in AI related roles today, and this number will double by 2027. This talent brings not only technical capability, but importantly, practical experience in applying technology in complex real world environments. Equally importantly, many of the foundations to build out this talent are already in place. Government initiatives to train 10 million young people in AI, along with industry partnerships with universities, are expanding access to practical, job ready training. Curricula is evolving, and people are giving opportunities as apprenticeships to get exposure to real world applications. This capability is reinforced by a vibrant innovation ecosystem. India is home, as many of us know, to the world's third largest technology startup base, including more than 4,000 startups in the deep tech and AI space. Together, these companies are helping translate technological capability into practical, real world applications. We are already seeing what this looks like on the ground. In agriculture, for example, farmers across Karnataka, Maharashtra, Telangana, AP, and Punjab are using AI systems trained on satellite imagery and local crop data. These systems provide early pest alerts and in some regions have reduced crop losses by nearly 25%. In small commerce, artisans in Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and UP are using AI related platforms connected to open networks. Products are automatically cataloged, descriptions translated across languages, prices optimized, and logistics coordinated, allowing small sellers to reach markets that were once out of reach. And we are also seeing deliberate investments in the future. National initiatives are expanding access to compute infrastructure and building capacity across the AI stack in our country. At the same time, and equally importantly, we as a country are taking a very pragmatic approach to governance, putting early guardrails in place, but balancing accountability with innovation so AI can scale safely and with confidence. All of this lays a strong foundation for India to lead in the AI era. But there is one more factor that I believe positions us as a country uniquely: our long engagement with global enterprises. Today, the constraint, as many have said, is not access to technology. The real world begins when AI is introduced into large, real world organizations. In those environments, technology has evolved over many years. Application landscapes are complex, data is fragmented, workflows are siloed, processes vary across geography, business units, and regulatory regimes. Decision making is rarely uniform. Making AI work in this environment means modernizing legacy architectures. It means curating and labeling data to create highly specialized context aware models. It means orchestrating across agents in ways that are reliable and secure. And it means earning confidence of security teams, risk leaders, regulators, and critically, the people who are expected to use these systems every day. This is where a more practical pattern has emerged in enterprises. Models designed for specific processes or decisions tend to deliver the most reliable results. When AI is closely aligned to a defined workflow, it becomes more predictable, easier to govern, and more effective over time. What enterprises need today is not a model that does everything, but models that do the right thing consistently inside how work actually happens. But technology alignment alone is not enough. For these systems to deliver value in organizations, Organizations themselves will have to invest in change, taking people truly along, helping them adapt to new ways of working, redesigning roles and decision making, and building confidence in how AI is used. That includes reskilling people, reskilling teams to work effectively with AI tools so that they understand the outputs and exercise judgment where it matters most. When models are well aligned to workflows and people are supported through the transition, AI becomes just not deployable, but it becomes sustainable at scale. And that plays directly to India's strengths. We have decades of experience working inside complex enterprises, helping them modernize systems, manage risk, and take people along through this change. And that works in environments like these is not just deployable, it is resilient, responsible, and truly scalable. The same dynamics that determine success inside organizations will also shape how countries navigate this moment. As we look ahead, India's advantage in AI will not be defined only by the size of our models or the scale of our infrastructure. It will be defined by the choices we make about where we apply AI, how we diffuse it, how responsibly is it deployed, and whether we can translate capability into real impact for governments, citizens, and enterprises. India's advantage will come from developing talent at scale, not just people trained on AI, but people who can apply it with context, judgment, and an ability to adapt to change. That is why AI fluency must extend beyond engineers to teachers, to nurses, to administrators, to supervisors, to small business owners, among everyone else. The dividing line will not be human versus machine. It will truly be between those who adapt and those who hesitate to adapt. Technology shifts inevitably create uncertainty, but for countries that act decisively, they also create opportunity. India has embraced such shifts in the past, and I believe we are really well positioned to do so again. I want to close by sharing a personal story from the work of the Azim Premji Foundation, which is also the majority shareholder of our company, Wipro. India sees 2.7 million tuberculosis cases every year, making it one of the country's most serious public health challenges. Early detection is essential, but confirming TB often requires patients to travel to distant public hospitals for sputum or molecular tests. For many, the real barrier is not medical capability, but it is access. To address this, our foundation is running a pilot in a rural community in Tamil Nadu. Community health workers carry portable X ray devices directly to people's homes. AI analyzes the X rays instantly and identifies signs consistent with TB, enabling that early screening and faster referral without requiring patients to travel. If successful, this approach can help detect TB earlier and extend the reach of healthcare into communities that need it most. With a national doctor to population ratio of roughly 1 is to 800 and even deeper shortages in rural India, AI does not replace care, it multiplies scarce expertise infinitely. The same last mile challenges exist across other countries in continents of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, home to more than 4 billion people. Solutions that work here in India at scale, low cost, multilingual, and resilient, can travel far beyond our own borders. If we can do that, India's contribution can be vast, not just in building AI, but in applying it to solve problems for enterprises, for our own country, and for the world at large, thoughtfully, inclusively, and with impact at scale. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Premji, for your visionary insights, which I'm sure will undoubtedly guide the path forward. And we also thank Mr. Premji for highlighting how AI is being used by Wipro for human centric projects, and for the welfare. That is what India is aiming at, to have an impact at ground level to change the lives of human beings. Ladies and gentlemen, few individuals have done more to bring artificial general intelligence from the realm of science fiction into boardrooms, into parliaments, and living rooms than our next speaker, Sam Altman, CEO, OpenAI. Under his leadership, OpenAI launched ChatGPT and forced the world to reevaluate his relationship with artificial intelligence. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO of OpenAI, Mr. Sam Altman.
Thank you so much. It's really a treat to be here in India, and it's incredible to see the country's leadership in advanced AI. I was last here a little over a year ago, and it's striking how much progress has happened since then. We've gone from AI systems that struggled with high school level math to systems that can do research level mathematics now and derive novel results in theoretical physics. It's also striking how much progress India has made in its mission to put AI to work for more people in more parts of the country. And India's leadership in sovereign AI, building on infrastructure, SLMs, and much more, has been great to watch. More than 100 million people in India use ChatGPT every week. More than a third of them are students. India is also the fastest growing market now for Codex, our coding agent that works to help people develop software faster and better. India, the world's largest democracy, is well positioned to lead in AI, not just to build it, but to shape it and decide what our future is going to look like. And it's important to move quickly. On our current trajectory, we believe we may be only a couple of years away from early versions of true superintelligence. If we are right, by the end of 2028, more of the world's intellectual capacity could reside inside of data centers than outside of them. This is an extraordinary statement to make. And of course, we could be wrong. But I think it really bears serious consideration. A superintelligence, at some point on its development curve, would be capable of doing a better job being the CEO of a major company than any executive, certainly me, or doing better research than our best scientists. As we prepare for this possibility, we are guided by three core beliefs. Number one, we believe that democratization of AI is the only fair and safe path forward. Democratization of AI is the best way to ensure that humanity flourishes. On the other hand, centralization of this technology in one company or country could lead to ruin. The desirable future a couple of decades from now has got to look like a world of liberty, democracy, widespread flourishing, and an increase in human agency. Some people want effective totalitarianism in exchange for a cure for cancer. I don't think we should accept that trade-off, nor do I think we need to. AI should extend individual human will. We'll probably need superintelligence to help us figure out the new governance mechanisms to ensure that this happens fairly at scale, and to avoid problems like extremely unbalanced compute access or something else. Second, we believe that AI resilience is a core safety strategy. We don't mean that this is the only safety strategy. We will continue to need to build safe systems and solve difficult technical alignment challenges. But increasingly, we need to start broadening how we think about safety to include societal resilience. No AI lab, no AI system can deliver a good future on their own. For an obvious example, there'll be extremely capable biomodels available open source that could help people create new pathogens. We need a society-wide approach about how we're going to defend against this. And third, the future of AI is not going to unfold exactly like anyone predicts. And we believe that many people need to have a stake in shaping the outcome. The development of AI has already held many surprises, and I assume there are bigger ones to come. We understand that with technology this powerful, people want answers. But it's important to be humble about what we don't know and always remember that sometimes our best guesses are wrong. Most of the important discoveries happen when technology and society meet, sometimes have some friction, and co-evolve. For example, We don't yet know how to think about some superintelligence being aligned with dictators and totalitarian countries. We don't know how to think about countries using AI to fight new kinds of war with each other. We don't know how to think about when and whether countries are going to have to think about new forms of social contracts. But we think it's important to have more understanding and society-wide debate before we're all surprised. Of special note, and related to all 3 points, we continue to believe that iterative deployment is a key strategic insight, and that society needs to contend with and use each successive new level of AI capability, have time to integrate it, understand it, and decide how to move forward. This has been working surprisingly well so far. If we are right, and systems continue to improve at this pace, it's going to change the economics of a lot of things. A really great thing about AI progress is that it looks like many things are going to get much cheaper. We can have much faster economic growth. We're already seeing what AI is doing for access to high quality healthcare, education, and more. In the coming years, we expect to see robots make many products and physical goods cheaper as supply chains get automated. The limit to how far this cost reduction can go may only be government policy. But the other side of this coin is that current jobs are going to get disrupted as AI can do more and more of the things that drive our economy today. It'll be very hard to outwork a GPU in many ways. It'll be easy in some other ways. For example, we really seem hardwired to care about other people much more than we care about machines. We're somewhat less concerned about the long-term future. Technology always disrupts jobs. We always find new and better things to do. The people of 500 years ago would have thought that our current jobs often look silly, like ways to entertain ourselves, create stress. And the people 500 years from now hopefully will look at us, hopefully look to us, like impossibly rich people playing games, trying to find ways to pass their times. But we should all hope that they feel much more fulfilled than we do today. I'm confident we will keep being driven to be useful to each other, to express our creativity, to gain status, to compete, and much more. But the specifics of what we do day to day will probably look very different. Each generation has built on the work of the generations before, and with new tools, the scaffolding gets a little taller. This collective external lattice, the set of tools that we have built up around ourselves, is remarkable, and we are capable of doing things that our great-great-grandparents couldn't have dreamed possible. It is a moral imperative to make sure that our great-great-grandchildren can say the same, and technology, and especially AI, is how we're going to get there. For a democratic AI future, it is not enough to just give people tools and wealth. We also need to give them agency and power. The vision that AI companies lay out fundamentally reduced to either unilateral control or decentralized power. Sharing control means accepting that some things are going to go wrong in exchange for not having one thing go mega wrong, cemented totalitarian control. This is a fundamental trade-off of democracy, and it is one that we believe in very strongly as the way to give everyone collective agency over the future. Of course, this is not to suggest that we won't need any regulation or safeguards. We obviously do urgently, like we have for other powerful technologies. In particular, we expect the world may need something like the IAEA for international coordination of AI, and especially for it to have the ability to rapidly respond to changing circumstances. The next few years will test global society as this technology continues to improve at a rapid pace. We can choose to either empower people or concentrate power. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sam Altman, for your very interesting and compelling remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now welcome Mr. Brad Smith, Vice Chair and President, Microsoft. Mr. Brad Smith has been Microsoft's conscience and its chief diplomat through some of the most consequential debates in technology policy, from privacy and cybersecurity to AI regulation. His book, Tools and Weapons, remains one of the most lucid accounts of the responsibilities tech companies carry in the modern world. So please welcome the Vice Chair and President of Microsoft, Mr. Brad Smith.
Good afternoon. It's always an important day when the world comes together under one roof, as we have today. It gives us an opportunity together to ask important questions, even hard questions, and think about how we want to answer them. As we think about this summit, the first AI summit in the Global South, it's only right that we start, I believe, by focusing on AI and what it means for the Global South. In some ways, I think the best way to start thinking about AI is to look more broadly and think about the state of the world in which we live. We live in a tumultuous time and in a fragmented world, but I think in so many ways, the deepest and most enduring divide has been the economic divide between the global North and South. And what I believe we need to recognize is that this economic divide is a result, more than anything else, of a technology divide. The technology divide created by unequal access to electricity. Electricity became one of humanity's most important general purpose technologies, meaning it spread across economies. It was applied in every industry. It boosted productivity. Where electricity went, economic development and prosperity followed. But as we all know, electricity did not spread everywhere at the same pace. It was literally 144 years ago that the first electrical power plant started operating in Lower Manhattan, and yet we come together today and we still live in a world where 700 million people lack access to electricity. Now comes AI. AI, perhaps more than any other technology this century, will play a bigger role either in closing this economic divide or in exacerbating it and making it even wider. That is perhaps the single most important question for us, I would suggest today, as we think about the role of AI in the Global South. How can we do better? Because we need to do better. What will it take? I think it's going to take a few things that will require that we all come together and work together. First, the obvious. We need to bring infrastructure to the Global South. That means data centers and compute. It also means more connectivity. It means more electricity. That is going to take not only the world's best technology, it's going to require an enormous amount of investment. That's why we at Microsoft announced yesterday morning that we're on pace to spend $50 billion by the end of this decade to bring AI to the Global South. And of all the countries in which we are investing, India, not surprisingly, is one of the largest. But we'll need to harness private capital, investments from tech companies, other sources of private capital, government funding. We'll need governments and others to generate demand for the use of AI in the Global South, because that is the only way to get the wheels of the market spinning and to do what we need to do together. That's the first thing we need to do together. There's a second thing we need to do. We've talked about it here already today, and it is so clear when you study the history of technology. Infrastructure is not only hardware, it's not only wires and grids, it's skilling for people. Because the key to enabling a country and a population to use a general purpose technology at scale is to give people across the country access to the skills they need to put it to work. And that's why it's such good news that we see so many governments supported by the United Nations and supported by private companies investing in more skilling. It's actually something that should speak to all of us. Certainly as a tech company, we're committed. We've launched through Microsoft Elevate new initiatives, including one we're announcing this week, Microsoft Elevate for Educators, to equip teachers with access to help their students learn how to use AI. But in the truth, it doesn't matter where you work. You have a role to play. Because the lesson of digital technology, I was an example of this, was that it took employers to open their doors to computing. It takes employers today to open their doors to new AI tools. It will take employers to invest in the skilling of their employees. It's not just for the next generation, it's for every generation that this fully matters. Then there's a third challenge for the Global South. We need to make AI work effectively for the Global South, and that requires some special initiatives, at least two. First, we need to make AI as effective in every language as it is in English, and today it is not. Performance tests show that's the case. That's why one of the good things to come out of this week is new announcements to invest upstream in better data in other languages, to provide better tools and measurement systems for AI that is built in other languages, to build out data provenance with a view to linguistic diversity, diversity that we need to advance around the world. And we need to use AI in the Global South to solve the problems that matter to the Global South. Oftentimes, as we're doing here in India, that's about improvements in agriculture, or as a number of partners, including Microsoft, are doing this week, launching a new initiative to address food security across Africa. These are just two of the myriad of opportunities we have to put AI to work in ways that will bring faster benefits to countries in most of the world. If we do those three things well, build infrastructure, invest in skilling, address real-world problems, then I think it may create the foundation to think more and do more about the question I am willing to bet will be a bigger part of the conversation in the next few AI summits. What will AI mean for the future of work and jobs? Within these walls, I think we're mostly enthusiastic about the future of AI. But outside these walls, I think we need to recognize that increasingly around the world, and especially in some countries, many parents are asking a common question. What will AI mean for my kids? What will AI mean for my family? What will AI mean for our future? I get it that some people are excited and they'll do well, but what about us? Us, meaning most of the people who live on this planet. I think we have something to prove. I think we have something to prove not only to communities and countries and our customers, but to ourselves, that we can not only embrace but pursue a brighter future for people. It's great to come to conferences like this and hear people talk about all of the advances in technology, but let's remember one other thing as well. Human capability is neither fixed nor finite. It's great to think about what it would mean to have computers in a data center that would be like a country of geniuses, but let's also recognize this. Compared to the people who lived in the Bronze Age, all of you, all of us, are already geniuses. Whenever technology advances, it creates a new platform, a new foundation that enables people to stand taller and reach higher if and only if we're committed to using that technology well. As AI makes it possible to cure more diseases, then it is right that we expect that it will improve human health. As we use AI already every day to find faster answers, it gives us the opportunity to ask more questions. The fundamental fuel of human capability has always been the same: curiosity. We need to look at AI as the next great generator for human curiosity. And we need to take some inspiration because we all know the world could use a little more inspiration. I often think about the following. Before the invention of the washing machine, it took someone, almost always a woman, between 6 and 8 hours to wash a load of laundry. But as the washing machine improved, that was compressed to 30 minutes. But do you know what happened? One thing happened more than anything else. Everyone wanted to wear cleaner clothes. Everyone expected to wear cleaner clothes. People did their laundry a lot more often. They had better clothes and they had more time, and they put that time to work to do more with their lives. Ultimately, that is the question for us. And this, too, is not just a question for tech companies. This is about what tech will do to people. It is people will use technology to do for people. And it's not people who create products. It's every government, it's every company, it's every nonprofit, it's every employer. Because we all have the opportunity to work with our people, to manage through the change that is coming, to show people how with the right AI skills, they can create jobs and careers that will be brighter for their future. That will not be easy, but if that's not our goal, then we're missing the big picture. As we come away from this AI summit, it reflects so much progress, but I would say one thing as well. Each of these AI summits is a proud moment for a great nation. But we have an opportunity. Rather than have summits that are islands that are disconnected from the summits before or that follow, we need to build bridges. We need to build bridges between these summits. We need to define clear goals. We need to have common measurement systems. And every year, we need to ask the same question. Did we make 12 months of progress in the year that just preceded our meeting? How can we build on that progress to do more and move faster in the year ahead? For those of us who come to these meetings in different countries every year, I hope we will take that away. Let's aim higher, not just for technology, but for what technology can do for people. Let's be clearer in defining what we want to accomplish. Let's put in place the ability for us to measure our progress and all hold ourselves accountable as a global community. If we can do these things, then we can use these summits and we can use this next generation of technology to build a better world. I know that's what we within these walls want us ourselves to do. But even more than that, I know that the people outside these walls are hoping and expecting us to do just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brad Smith, for that very energizing address, ladies and gentlemen. I think he really deserves an energetic applause from you all. His address has actually given a very constructive direction to the discourse on artificial intelligence. And well, now we are moving to the next conversation, for which our guest is the person who's often called the godfather of deep learning. Our guest is Mr. Jan LeCun, Executive Chairman, Advanced Machine Intelligence Labs, and his foundational work on convolutional neural networks underpins virtually every image recognition system in use today. Now, at the frontier of next generation AI architectures, he's one of the field's most provocative and independent voices. Please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Jan LeCun. And this conversation will be moderated by Ms. Maria Shakil, Managing Editor, India Today. Please welcome our guest and our moderator. Mr. Jan LeCun. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. So let's begin with the big idea here, Professor LeCun. Are we on a path to creating the smartest mind that humanity has ever known? And will that happen in our lifetime?
Maybe in the lifetime of some people here, possibly not in mine. We'll see. It will take a while. But I think the more interesting thing that we're going to build is an amplifier for human intelligence. So maybe not an entity that surpasses human intelligence in all domain, although that will happen at some point, but at least something that will amplify human intelligence in ways that will accelerate progress.
So then, will we end up defining and redefining genius? What will a genius be?
Well, I think several thousand years ago, or even a few centuries ago, what people identified as genius is very different from what we currently identify as genius. And I think there will be more evolution of that concept of genius. Um, in the past, perhaps, genius was, some act of creation or invention, but maybe not at the theoretical level like we tend to think of it today. It was, more practical. Certainly, in the very ancient past, people who figured out how to cultivate crops or domesticate animals probably were seen as genius.
So, we have often seen, and this is a thought that you have all, pretty openly shared, that AI is powerful but not intelligent. When we make that distinction, and there are conversations around LLM, where do you see intelligence and AI driven power?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion, really, because we tend to anthropomorphize systems that can reproduce certain human functions. LLMs are incredibly useful. There's no question about that. And they do amplify human intelligence, like computer technology going back to the 1940s. But LLMs, to some extent, except for a few domains, are mostly information retrieval systems. They can compress a lot of factual knowledge that has been previously produced by humans and can give easy access to it. In a way, it's kind of a natural evolution of, the printing press, the libraries, the internet, and search engines, right? It's just a more efficient way to access information. And there are a few domains where the intelligent capabilities of those systems actually is more than that. It's more than just retrieval. So for generating code, maybe doing some type of mathematics, we're getting the impression that it's beyond this. But it's still, to a large extent, domains where reasoning has to do with manipulating symbols. The problem is that why do we have systems that can pass the bar exam and win mathematics Olympiads, but we don't have domestic robots? We don't even have self-driving cars. And we certainly do not have self-driving cars that can teach themselves to drive in 20 hours of practice like any 17-year-old. So we're missing something big still.
So what are we teaching a 17-year-old then?
Well, so the question is, how does a baby learn? Or even an animal, right? Animals have a much better understanding of the physical world than any AI systems that we have today, which is why we don't have smart robots, and so we learn about the world, how the world works, mostly by observation when we are babies, a few months old, and then we learn by interaction, and we learn mental models of the world that allows us to apprehend any new situation. Even if we haven't been exposed to it beforehand, we can still handle it. So a big buzzword in AI today is world models. And this is really this idea that we develop mental models of the world that allow us to think ahead, to apprehend new situations, plan sequence of actions, reason, and predict the consequences of our actions, which is absolutely critical. And LLMs don't do this, really.
There is the sense, Professor, that perhaps AI will unlock an era of radical abundance. Will this abundance benefit us?
Well, so there, if you talk to economists, they tell you, if we can measure the improvement that AI will bring to productivity, which is, amount of wealth produced per hour worked, is going to add up to maybe 0.6% per year. Okay, this is from economists that actually have studied the effect of technological revolutions on the labor market and the economy. People like Philippe Aghion or Eric Brynjolfsson. And So that seems small. It's actually quite big, and it's certainly going to accelerate scientific progress in medicine. I do not believe there's going to be like a singular identifiable point where the economy is going to take off and there's going to be abundance. And there's also the question of the policies surrounding this. Are those benefits going to be shared across humanity or different categories of people in various countries? And that's a political question. It has nothing to do with technology.
So, if economists see this as boom, will then openness survive?
It's not going to be an event. It's going to be progressive. Yeah, there is this uh, false idea that somehow at some point we're going to discover the secret of human level intelligence. I don't like the phrase AGI because human intelligence is specialized, so I don't like the artificial general intelligence phrase. But it's not going to be an event. We're not going to discover one secret. We're going to make continuous progress, and we're not going to be able to measure that progress by just having a series of tests that are going to test whether a machine is more intelligent than humans, because machines are already more intelligent than humans on a growing number of narrow tasks. And so it's not like a uniform scalar measurement of quality. It's a collection of quality. But what's more important is that intelligence is not just a collection of skills, it's an ability to learn new skills extremely quickly and even to accomplish new tasks without being trained to do it the first time we apprehend it. That's really what intelligence should be measured at. So we're not going to be able to just design a test that is going to figure out are machines more intelligent than humans.
So, if it's about upskilling and ensuring that you're relevant, then only perhaps you're intelligent. Uh, will that then mean that the countries that adopt AI and the pace at which India and the scale at which India has adopted AI, the challenge would be to create talent which is upskilled and reskilled and have the required skills for this?
Absolutely. So the relationship that we're going to have with intelligent AI systems is going to be similar to the relationship that a leader in business, politics, or academia, or some other domain has with their staff. Okay, AI is going to be our staff. Every one of us is going to be a manager of a staff of intelligent machines. They'll do our bidding. They might be smarter than us, but certainly if you are an academic or a politician, you work with staff that are smarter than you. In fact, that's the whole point. You need to attract people who are smarter than you, because that's what makes you more productive. For an academic, it's students who are smarter than their professor and teach. It's not the professor that teaches graduate students; it's the other way around, actually. And certainly, we have a lot of examples of politicians who are surrounded by people who are smarter than them.
Earlier today, when Prime Minister Modi addressed the gathering, he said that India doesn't fear AI. We are seeing this as our destiny future, which is Bhagya. Do you see that with a summit of this nature being hosted in India, it's a message to the global south, and that's where perhaps the next big innovation in AI could be coming from?
Well, long term is going to come from countries that have favorable demographics, and that means India, Africa. The youth is the most creative part of humanity, and there's sort of a deficit of that in the north, largely. So the scientists of the top scientists of the future, and in fact many of the present are from India, and in the future will be from mostly Africa. So what does that mean, though, right? It means having incentives for young people to kind of study, first of all, So the idea that somehow we don't need to study anymore because AI is going to do it for us, and that's completely false, absolutely completely false. And it's not because I'm a professor, okay, that I'm saying this. On the contrary, we're going to have to study more. We see, for example, a trend where in industry, in the past, in certain countries, it's certainly true for India, but it's also true in European countries, and certainly in the US, we see more demand for people with more education at the PhD level, for example. The demand for PhD level scientists in industry has grown in the last 15 years, in part because of AI, but because of everything, because technological progress and hinges on scientific progress, and scientific progress is brought about by scientists, and scientists mostly have done PhDs, and so there is more demand for education, not less. Uh, and so for countries in the global south, that means investing in education and youth.
And making AI more accessible, something that India believes in. Democratizing AI for all is the theme of this summit as well. Do you think AI can become that accessible, particularly uh, for a country as large as ours with 1.4 billion people?
Yeah, in all kinds of ways. Unfortunately, the cost of inference for AI system has to come down to kind of become practical for the vast majority of population in a country like India. Right now, the inference is just too expensive, and energy costs and things like that. It's mostly energy costs actually. Uh, so this has to come down, but then it will play a role in education. AI will improve the quality of education, not degrade it. Once we figure out how to use it best, it will improve, uh, you know, agriculture and
In
everything else.
healthcare, in particular.
Healthcare, of course, right? So I don't work at Meta anymore, but there was an experiment a couple of years ago or a year ago that was run by my former colleagues, where they gave smart glasses to
Yes.
agriculture, to farmers in India, and they could talk to the AI assistant to figure out, like, what is this disease on my plant, or should I harvest now, or what's going to be the weather, and
Yes,
I
it
think
is
those
being
things.
used a lot in agriculture as well.
That's right.
It is assisting farmers to ensure that their produce gets better, they make right choices. But when you say about education, will AI assist education in terms of making students or youth of the country more literate, or will they become more AI dependent?
Well, I mean, we're dependent on technology, right? I'm dependent on this pair of glasses, otherwise I don't see you. So that's been that's been with us for centuries. Yeah, we'd be dependent on AI, of course, but AI will facilitate access to knowledge, and thereby kind of be a tool for education. I think the effect on society, might be extrapolated from what was observed in the 15th century, when the printing press started enabling the production of printed matters and the dissemination of knowledge, right? It had a huge effect on society worldwide, at least in countries that allowed it to flourish. And I think it's going to be a similar transformation with AI, of course, in the modern world. Just more access to knowledge. The internet played also a similar role, and I think this is just going to make people more informed, smarter, able to make more rational decision if it's deployed in the proper way.
So, if you were to define this moment which we are witnessing in history, we are living it. How will you say it? Is it like the advent of electricity?
Yeah, people have made that claim,
They have made that claim,
including
yes.
economists. It's the new electricity. I think it's more like the new printing press, really. But uh, again, in the sort of this vision of kind of more dissemination and sharing of knowledge and amplification of human intelligence. But you know, the impact on society and the way countries need to be run is very difficult to predict at this point. I'm sort of an optimist in the sense that I think societies will figure out how best to use that technology for the benefits of their population.
While I am an optimist, nevertheless, I'm going to ask this question to you, Professor. Are we overestimating the change or underestimating what has struck us?
So usually in technological shifts of this type, we are overestimating the changes in the short term and underestimating them in the long term. Uh, I think for AI, it's a little bit different because there's been a huge amount of hype and expectations that, the transition to human level AI, superhuman level AI, is going to be an event and is going to happen within the next few years. And people have been making that claim for the last 15 years, and it's been false. In fact, they've been making it for the last 60 years or 70 years, and it's been false. Every time in the history of AI that scientists have discovered kind of a new paradigm on AI, how you build intelligent machines, people have claimed, within 10 years, the smartest entity on the planet will be a computer. And that just proved to be wrong, 4 or 5 times in the last 70 years. It's still wrong. We're still very far from that. We're not very far. We're getting close, right? We're seeing the end of the tunnel. But it's not like, we're going to have super intelligent systems within 2 years. It's just not happening because of this gap. Right? Where is the robot that can learn to drive in 20 hours of practice like a 17-year-old? Even though we have millions of hours of training data of people driving cars around, we should be able to train an AI system to just imitate that. That doesn't actually quite work. It's not reliable enough.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this conversation with who gets to define intelligence now onwards. Will it be actually humans, machines, or both together?
Probably both together, but mostly humans. Like we set the agenda, and the biggest difficulty is not to get fooled into thinking that a computer system is intelligent simply because it can manipulate language. We tend to think of language as the epitome of human intelligence, right? But in fact, it turns out language is easy to deal with because language is really a sequence of discrete symbols of which there is only a finite number, and that turns out to make things easy when you train a system to predict what the next word is in a text, which is what LLMs are based on. It turns out the real world is much, much more complicated. And it's been known in computer science for many years. It's called the Moravec paradox, after a roboticist, Hans Moravec. And so the company I'm building and the research program I've been working on for the last 15 years or so is intelligence for the real world. How to deal with high-dimensional, continuous, noisy signal that the real world is, which your house cat is perfectly able to deal with. Or a squirrel or whatever, but not computers yet. That's the big challenge for the next few years in AI, dealing with the real world. And that's the point of the company I'm building.
So AI has to deal with the real world, or real world has to deal with AI?
AI has to deal with the real world, the messiness of the real world, the unpredictability of the real world.
All right. Thank you so much for this conversation,
Thank you.
Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Yanlakun, for sharing your insights on artificial intelligence. And thanks, Maria, for moderating this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now welcome Mr. Ankur Vora. He's the President of Africa and India Offices and Chief Strategy Officer at the Gates Foundation. And well, talking about him, Ankur is a development economist by training whose life trajectory was influenced by his parents' dedication to purpose and India's economic reform that lifted millions out of poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ankur Vora.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Modi, for hosting this summit. Is the person okay? Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Modi, for hosting this summit. India's leadership on AI is remarkable. It is fitting that India is hosting the first major international AI summit in the global south. I grew up in Gujarat, watching my parents serve patients at a community health hospital. I joined the Gates Foundation in 2013, inspired by the mission that every person deserves the chance to live a healthy and productive life. Earlier this year, I stepped into a new role, overseeing the foundation's work across our Africa and India offices. I never imagined that I would stand on a stage like this, at a moment like this, speaking about technology that may shape the future of billions. I feel humbled by this opportunity. Many people predict that AI will help the world be better for everyone. Others predict it will only benefit the privileged few. But the fact is, it's not a matter of prediction, it's a choice. Technologists can choose whether we use AI to take on the world's greatest challenges or just the most profitable ones. Policymakers can choose to build rules that ensure everyone benefits and not just a few. That means governance, safeguards, infrastructure built for inclusion. Here in India, leaders have already made that choice. India has built world-class digital public infrastructure like Aadhaar and UPI. This has improved the ease of living for billions. India is investing in Bhashini and AI Kosh to ensure languages and high-quality data sets are no longer a barrier, and innovators do not have to start from scratch. During its G20 presidency, India strengthened global consensus around using AI responsibly and for good. Because of these choices, low-cost, open-source AI tools are ready and improving lives already. AI is not a leap into the unknown for India. It is the next chapter in a journey of building solutions that serve everyone. If the world follows this approach, AI could possibly compress progress of the next 20 years into 5. That progress means fewer children dying from preventable causes, fewer women dying in childbirth, more infectious diseases eliminated, millions rising out of poverty. If we step back, the real test of AI is simple. Will it help make people's lives better? That fundamental question guides how we think about our work in health, education, and agriculture. Since 2000, the world has cut child deaths into half. That represents millions of lives saved. Within our lifetimes, we could see the end of preventable child deaths. AI can help us get there faster. In sub-Saharan Africa, there are 6 million fewer health workers than we require. AI tools, when deployed correctly, can free up time of existing workers so they can help more patients. Last month, Bill announced Horizon 1000 in partnership with OpenAI, the government of Rwanda, and ministries of health across the regions. The effort will deploy AI tools in 1,000 primary health clinics across Africa. Imagine visiting a local health center that offers AI-powered guidance. Simple cases can be resolved immediately, complex ones are referred appropriately, and millions of lives are saved. AI will not just speed up innovation, it can help bring that innovation to community clinics, to health workers like my parents, and to the patients who depend on them. That is expanded access. Another area where AI can make a material difference is in education. There are two hard problems in education. First, accurately assessing where each child is in his or her learning journey. And second, once a teacher knows that, helping her customize her lesson plans for that child. Earlier in my career, I worked to bring Pratham's teaching at the right level model to Africa, to Ghana. I have seen firsthand that works, but the challenge has always been about cost and scalability. AI now makes that challenge surmountable. It makes activities like personalized assessment far more affordable and easier to implement at scale. With Vadwani AI here in India, we developed a tool that analyzes short audio clips of children reading. Each assessment takes only 2 minutes. It costs about 5 paise. That is less than 1 cent per child. The result is more children being supported, more hardworking teachers having the time and ability to do the things that they love the most, shaping the next generation. 6 million children in Rajasthan and my home state of Gujarat have already benefited from this revolution. So it is clear AI will make a difference in health and education. But can it also help advance economic opportunities for the poorest? More than half of the workforce in the global south is engaged in agriculture. Every country that has moved out of poverty has seen rising farm productivity. For a farmer, every cropping season comes down to a handful of decisions: what to plant, when to plant, what seeds to buy, what fertilizers to use, when to sell. If even one of these decisions goes wrong, it can wipe out an entire year of income. And that does not just affect the harvest, it affects the choices the farmer's family can make for that year. AI can ease that uncertainty. It can provide timely, localized information so farmers can make better decisions with confidence. Earlier this week, Bill and I met Annapurna, a banana farmer in Andhra Pradesh. She showed us how she used an AI assistant on her phone to identify a pest attacking her crop. She took a photo on her app. Within 48 hours, a drone had precisely treated the affected area. She saw technology help her in real time to save her harvest and protect her family for the season. When Bill and Melinda first thought about the Gates Foundation, the vision behind it was simple. Innovation should serve those who are left behind. At that time, it meant vaccines, diagnostics, better delivery systems. Today, it also must mean artificial intelligence. Globally, the Gates Foundation has 3 objectives. No mother or baby should die of preventable causes. The next generation of people should grow up in a world without infectious diseases, and millions of people should escape the clutches of poverty. AI can accelerate progress across all 3. For the first time, we can deliver precision at scale, replacing one-size-fits-all solutions with the right fit solutions that are cheaper, faster, and more inclusive. To support these efforts, the Gates Foundation is launching Advantage India for AI. Yes, that is AI for AI. This initiative will bring together innovators and philanthropists across India and the global south to advance AI for social good. Ultimately, History will not remember the models we perfect or the speeches we give. It will remember the lives we improve. It's not a prediction, it's a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ankurwora. Your perspectives on leveraging AI for social impact have undoubtedly added depth to this summit. And ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Ms. Julie Sweet, Chair and CEO, Accenture. Ms. Julie Sweet has repositioned Accenture as one of the world's largest AI and technology transformation companies, deploying hundreds of thousands of professionals across every sector of the global economy. Her perspective on what AI adoption actually looks like at scale, beyond the hype, is grounded in hard operational reality. So please welcome the CEO of Accenture, Ms. Julie Sweet.
Guest. Thank you, Prime Minister Modi, Minister Vaishnaw, and your outstanding teams for convening us for this critical summit around AI. The breadth of distinguished guests from around the world is a recognition of the importance of broad global partnerships to capture the incredible potential of AI and address the risks. It is also a recognition of the importance of India in our AI-enabled future. At Accenture, we're incredibly proud to have over 350,000 and growing reinventors here in India. We also have one of the largest AI workforces in the world, tightly integrated with our growing AI hubs in the US, Europe, the Middle East, and Japan. And I want to take this time to thank all of our people in India for your incredible commitment to value and to our clients. Today, I want to leave you with 3 perspectives that we believe will help us ensure that AI's immense potential is captured for the benefit of all. First, using AI as an engine for growth is the only path for global prosperity for all. Second, the agenda ahead of us is unprecedented. Companies, countries, and individuals must reinvent how they work together, and how they learn. And finally, it is humans in the lead, not humans in the loop, that will determine our future. As we turn to the imperative for growth, I want to take you back for a moment to 2013. Oxford University had just published a widely read study that said, based on technology progress at that time, 47% of US jobs would be automatable. Dire headlines and predictions soon followed. One of those technologies was robotic process automation, or RPA. And there were predictions that IT services would be badly damaged because it would automate so many jobs. And in fact, we used RPA to automate thousands of jobs. And we also, as an industry, embraced the new technologies of digital and classical AI, and we created many, many more jobs. We helped our clients adopt RPA, and those who did created investment capacity to invest in new technologies and to grow. And in fact, the IT services industry has thrived over the last decade, including many of India's most successful companies that you've heard from today. At Accenture alone in 2013, we were roughly 275,000 people and $29 billion in revenue. And today we're over 750,000 and growing and $70 billion in revenue. What the last decade has taught us is a critical lesson. When companies and countries embrace new technologies and then use them to drive growth and productivity, they prosper. Advanced AI should be the same. In fact, in our latest quarterly survey of C-suites across 20 countries, they agree. 78% say AI's greatest value is in growth. Now, as we think about what growth should look like, there's two important considerations. First, AI should make the impossible possible. AI should make the impossible possible. If in a few years as a CEO, you cannot point to new products and services, new levels of performance that were not possible before, then you have not captured potential of AI. Think about the consumer and retail industries. LLMs are about to become the new mall. This is an entirely new way to engage customers and to engage in commerce that did not exist in 2022. If you think about pharma, we see a path toward bringing drugs to market much faster than the average of 9 years. Not possible before, which means that life-saving drugs will get to people faster and pharma will have accelerated growth. And we are just beginning to understand how AI will create new drugs, new materials, new products across industries. A second consideration around growth is that we must commit to providing access to the technology and the talent for small and medium-sized enterprises. If we are to use AI as an engine for growth, we need to make sure that the engine for growth, these size enterprises, have access. 50% of the world's GDP are small and medium-sized enterprises, and in the global south, it's 70% of employment. To do so, there will be lots of business opportunities. So many industries will serve small and medium-sized enterprises, but that will not be enough. Private and public partnerships will be critical to making sure there's access. For example, we're working with the US college system where we're funding internships of college students at small and medium-sized enterprises. It's a win-win. Statistically, if you have an internship, you have a better chance of getting a job, and it's providing these enterprises access to some of the cutting-edge talent. And so we must make sure that we're continuing to focus on the small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, I know, and we all know, that advanced AI is much more powerful than the technology advancements of the last decade. And of course, that means that the impact is more profound. But that doesn't change the critical lesson that AI must be used for growth and productivity. What it does change are the sets of actions, the time frame, the need for global collaboration, the need for more public and private partnerships, and the urgency of what we must do in order for AI to drive growth. So companies must be willing to reinvent how they operate, their processes, how they've been doing work for the last decades. Underneath the headlines of a failure of AI is mostly a failure to reinvent. Companies have to invest to reshape their workforces, and companies must commit to creating sustained entry-level jobs. Now, entry-level jobs makes economic sense. They're the only way to create future leaders. And they bring needed, truly AI native talent to each of our organizations. But AI fundamentally is changing what an entry-level job looks like. And so a commitment means we have to be intentional about changing the roles, investing in training, which is exactly what Accenture is doing. We will hire into more entry-level jobs this year than last year. But the skills we require and the way we're onboarding those individuals is fundamentally different. Now, countries must also reinvent. They must reinvent their role and how they work with the private sector. They have to themselves, as governments, become the best credential for why AI matters. They must work with the private sector to help create lifelong learning, because education is no longer a destination. We have to have lifelong learning. India is doing a great job of embedding AI into the educational system, starting in primary school, and governments across the world will need to do so. At the same time, as countries are thinking differently, individuals have to think differently and recognize that formal education is no longer the destination. But perhaps the biggest fundamental change that must be made is that companies and countries need to pound the table for global standards. These standards should apply to safety, but also to the industries where AI can make the greatest impact. For example, in pharma, if one country is allowing pharma companies to use the latest technologies to discover drugs and then test drugs, but other countries don't follow suit, it means that you won't be able to scale, you won't be able to bring it. And we know that most often that impacts the most vulnerable. Now, we have a view, of course, that we have to reinvent. But as we think about that reinvention, core to our future is the fundamental belief that it is humans in the lead, not humans in the loop, that will shape that future. We should not confuse how you deploy AI responsibly. Of course, all of our compliance programs have humans, they have technology. That doesn't change the critical lesson that we've learned over and over again. Technology, no matter how powerful, is only a tool. It is simply a tool. It is leaders who decide how to use those tools. It is leaders who decide to commit to reinvent, who dedicate their time to making sure that people come along the journey. And it is leaders who must choose to work together to ensure the safe, widespread adoption of AI. There are lots of headlines today that predict less jobs, less opportunity, less human relevance. We are here because we see a future of more. At Accenture, we live by 8 leadership essentials, the qualities we believe we need to run our company. And one of them is particularly important. We expect leaders to lead with excellence, confidence, and humility. As we look to our collective future, we should have the confidence to have the unwavering belief that together we can make a future that is better for all. We also must hold ourselves individually and collectively accountable for executing on that belief with a high bar of excellence, because our people around the world are counting on that excellence. And finally, we must all have the humility to know that we cannot do this alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Julie Sweet. I think I can take a tagline out of her address, which says that AI should make the impossible possible. But thank you for your thoughtful articulation of AI's impact on industry and on society. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the youngest billionaire in history, and he's now helping to define how one of the world's largest technology platforms deploy AI at unprecedented scale. Next speaker is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alexander Wong, Chief AI Officer at Meta, the founder of Scale AI. Alexander Wong built the data infrastructure that powers much of the modern AI industry before joining Meta as Chief AI Officer. So with a round of applause, please welcome Mr. Alexander Wong.
Thank you so much for having me. Namaste. It's fair to say my upbringing wasn't typical. My parents were physicists in a town called Los Alamos in New Mexico. Los Alamos is a government lab town where, for decades, scientists have come to push the boundaries of what's possible in mathematics and supercomputing, in human genome studies, vaccine research, space explorations, and material science. My mother studies how plasma behaves inside stars. At the dinner table, we'd talk about physics problems, scientific trade-offs, the reasoning behind how systems work. One kid in my town made huge balls of plasma in their garage for a science fair project. You know, normal high school stuff. Growing up in a place like Los Alamos leaves two things deeply ingrained in you. A belief that anything is possible, and that science should serve society. Those ideas are what led me to study AI while I was at college at MIT. They led me to start my own company, Scale AI, and last year they led me to Meta, where I am now the Chief AI Officer. If you believe that anything is possible, Meta is one of the few companies with the resources, talent, and ambition to push the science of AI forward at scale. If you want to make technology that serves society, Meta has an incredible opportunity to get this technology into people's lives. 3.5 billion people use at least one of our apps every day. That blows my mind. It's more than 500 million people in India alone. People are already using our AI to do amazing things. Across India, creators use our AI to automatically translate reels into the language of the person watching. Small businesses talk to customers through WhatsApp business agents that they create in 10 minutes on their phones, and they use our Gen AI tools to create ads and reach customers way more efficiently than they ever could before. And India has world-class developers building genius things to solve societal challenges. For example, there are more than 20 million people with disabilities in India who are locked out of education, jobs, and digital services because the digital world wasn't designed for them. So iSTEM built voice-first, AI-powered infrastructure that helps people with disabilities to learn, discover careers, and complete digital tasks independently, like converting textbooks into usable formats or giving personalized career guidance that takes into account their disability. In healthcare, researchers at Ashoka University used our SAM3 model, which is trained on billions of natural images, to speed up the identification and segmentation of cancer tumors and at-risk organs. Their model, OncoSeg, can help radiologists and radiology oncology teams do in seconds what it takes hours to do manually. The beauty of general purpose models is the same technology that can segment tumors in the brain can segment leaves to help farmers assess the health of their crops, as AgriPoint has done. We recently open sourced our omnilingual models, which recognize speech across more than 1,600 languages and can rapidly adapt to new languages with just a few audio samples. It's not a fantasy that in a few years we'll have real-time, voice-to-voice translation for every spoken language on Earth. Now build that into your glasses, real-time translation in any language just for you. That's transformative, perhaps most especially in countries like India, where so many languages are spoken. In fact, language is an area where we're collaborating with the Indian government on through its AI Kosh platform. We're providing datasets in 10 major Indian languages so people can build AI models that deeply understand Indian languages and contexts. I'm sure you're used to people from big tech world making lots of grand but vague assertions about what AI will be able to do. But we don't have to be vague. People use our AI right here, right now. They're getting value from it, and they're building amazing things with it. And that gives us confidence about what we're building towards. We're releasing new models this year, with the first coming in the next couple of months. These will be deeply integrated with our products in a way we're really excited about. We're optimistic about the trajectory we're on. The first models will be good, and as the year goes on, I think we're going to be pushing the frontier. Our vision is personal superintelligence. AI that knows you, your goals, your interests, and helps you with whatever you're focused on doing. It serves you, whoever you are, wherever you are. We all lead busy lives. I'm sure you'd want to do more if only you had the time and headspace. That's how I think about personal superintelligence. Say you want to be healthier. Your personal AI could help you see through a personal health plan covering diet, exercise, and sleep, and your daily routine. Or you have a project you'd like to get done, like putting on an event. It can track your progress, reach out to venues, arrange invites, remind you of things you haven't considered, and more. If you love to go fishing or paint or want to travel more, it can help free you up so you can do more of these things, and it can give you advice when you need it or help you show up as a better friend or in your community. It won't just do your admin, it'll be an extension of you so you can be you more. I get that some people will worry what companies like Meta really want is to get you hooked and leave you passively staring at screens. But the whole point of personal superintelligence is the opposite. It's about helping you be more active in your life, in pursuing your goals, and deepening your relationships. I know people are going to be skeptical when I say we're going to do this work responsibly. But you don't have to take us at our word, take us at our incentives. This is a competitive space, which is why we're seeing so much innovation. Given how intimately your personal AI will know you, people aren't going to hire us for the job if we're not doing it responsibly. Our AI needs to work the way we say it does, as well as we say it does, and as safely and as securely as you need it to. It needs to help you in your life, and if it doesn't, people simply won't use it. We'll lose customers, we'll lose public trust, and we'll lose out to our competitors. That's why we're transparent about our models. We publish model cards and evaluation benchmarks and data so you can see how they work, their intended use, and how we assess their performance. And as they get more advanced, we're looking at ways to share even more. It's why we invest in the science of model evaluation, both improving the existing tests and building new ones for risks we haven't yet confronted. And it's why, over many years, we've developed ways to identify and mitigate potential risks before we release a model through risk assessments, scaled evaluations, red teaming, and fine-tuning. And we can monitor aggregate trends in how people use AI in our apps. So we have a feedback loop that can flag potential risks and help us improve our models. As the models improve, the governance around them has to keep pace. So we're innovating with how they learn and apply principles and how they're tested and evaluated using AI to strengthen checks and balances. Realizing the full promise of AI is as much a matter of getting policy right as it is investment. There are 4 building blocks for AI: talent, energy, data, and compute. Governments and industry need to work together to make sure there's access to each so we can realize AI's potential and do it in a way that means you can build for your needs, not ours. That's in part about having bold national AI strategies and policies that encourage innovation, not patchworks of inconsistent regulations that make it harder. But above all, it's about collaboration between public and private sectors to deliver these 4 building blocks and to design and deploy AI that works for your citizens and your economies. I don't want these amazing technologies to be one size fits all. I want them to serve your needs, designed for the challenges and opportunities that are unique to India, to societies across the global south, and all over the world. I want them to serve you as an individual, no matter who you are, where you live, what language you speak, or what culture you're a part of. That's only going to be possible if the public and private sector are on the same side. We need to be partners working together in a spirit of openness and collaboration, and with a sense of shared ambition. I truly believe we're on the cusp of a moment where really anything is possible. We want to work with you to build AI that serves your societies. I hope you'll work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander Wang. Our heartfelt gratitude to you for your remarks, for sharing your findings as well. And well, your vision for AI and innovation, it does inspire many of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me now in welcoming Mr. Roy Jacobs, CEO of Philips. Mr. Jacobs leads one of the world's most storied healthcare technology companies through a pivotal transformation, putting AI diagnostics and patient monitoring at the center of Philips' mission. His work sits at the critical intersection of AI and human health, where the stakes could not be higher. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO of Philips, Mr. Roy Jacobs.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It's a true honor to be here among so many brilliant minds and very bold ambitions. And building off the visionary path of the Prime Minister, I want to share how we are walking that path, designing and developing in India and delivering to the world. And since I have your attention, let me share something that I want to leave behind. We believe that artificial intelligence will have its biggest impact in healthcare. Because healthcare needs it. And maybe some of you are skeptical, but let me try to convince you otherwise. For decades, healthcare has been adopting technology cautiously. And there are different reasons for this. For today, something fundamental has changed in healthcare. Healthcare systems are under immense pressure. Rising demand, chronic disease, stretched workforces, and high expectations of patients and society. The pressure is only accelerating, and that will also accelerate the adoption of data and AI-driven innovation. AI is already today helping to provide better access to care. It's embedded in clinical workflows. It's augmenting human expertise. It's improving imaging precision. It's enabling earlier detection. It's extending care beyond walls. And so the task now is, how do we build an intelligent care system that is predictive, trusted, more effective, and accessible for people everywhere? Because ultimately, it's not about AI or technology. It's about the people that are served by technology and AI. Just consider for a moment the pressure care teams are under. If you ask clinicians what they lack most, the answer is almost always time. Time to think, time to explain, time to connect with patients. In many health systems, nurses and physicians spend hours on documentation and administrative tasks, hours not spent on the patient. AI has the full potential to change that equation. The first wave of AI is about removing friction, automating repetitive steps, reducing clicks, supporting documentation, making systems more intuitive. This may not be flashy, but it is transformative, and it does generate huge impact. When AI listens to a clinical conversation and drafts structured documentation in the background, that is not replacing a clinician, it's giving time back to the clinician. When AI prioritizes work lists so that the most urgent cases rise to the top, it's not making decisions independently, it's supporting better clinical judgment. This is AI working quietly in the background, so clinicians can focus on what matters most. And this is real today. Let me make it even more tangible. Because AI is already reshaping what's possible across healthcare. Imagine a patient in a regional hospital. She has been waiting for weeks for an MRI scan. The backlog is long. The technologists are stressed. clinicians are not available to support. Traditionally, an MRI required significant manual setup, precise parameter selection, and highly specialized expertise to conduct a scan. Variability was inevitable and access was limited. Now imagine something completely different. The patient arrives for her MRI and checks in smoothly. Her clinical information is already available to the system that will conduct the scan. AI helps position her first time right, accurately, and selects the optimal scan protocol. It's tailored to her autonomy. And as the scan runs, the image quality is continuously monitored and adjusted automatically. This is autonomous MRI scanning. The result? Clear, precise images, delivered efficiently and consistently. The radiologist receives AI-driven insights and quantitative biomarkers. And Philips is working to make that a reality. It means more patients diagnosed earlier, earlier detection of chronic and complex conditions. It expands capacity and access to care. It reduces variability. It scales expertise. And over time, it helps reduce the overall cost of care. And at Philips, we have been laying the groundwork for this future through advanced automation, integrated MR workflows, and an AI engine that scans faster while enhancing quality. We are also leaders in helium-free MRI systems. That's a hardware breakthrough. And together, that does not only make it more sustainable, but it allows us to install MRI systems outside of the hospital, closer to patients, where it was previously not feasible to go to. That means even more access, more resilience, and more patients served. But diagnosis is not the only part of the story. Let's enter a hospital room. There is no lack of data. Actually, there's an overload of data. Many devices, alarms going off, dashboards to be read. Now image a hospital room transformed into a smart healing environment. Data from devices flow into a unified platform where AI continuously analyzes vital signs and clinical trends. False alarms are